Hi everyone and welcome to Code on Fire. In this second tutorial dedicated to creating and managing a menu system and more generally to using and managing the user interface, we will implement a pause menu, get to know other components to use, and learn how to connect different widgets together. In this case, we will create our pause menu in a different widget from the main menu we created in the first part of this series, which I highly recommend you watch. You can find the link in the description, and it is part of the same playlist as this tutorial. In the main menu, we implemented the buttons play and exit. We can see there's two unclicked events here in the graph. We created animations for the background images and buttons. Clicking the play button will start the game. Clicking the exit button will exit the game. Now we need to create the pause menu. As I mentioned, we will create two different widgets. In subsequent tutorials, still within this series, we will also see how to use the switchers within the user interface, which will allow us to have a different setup. Therefore, subscribe to the channel and follow all the tutorials that will be released. The first step to take is to go to Content, right-click, User Interface, and go to Widget Blueprint. We then create our WGT pause menu. Let's go inside it. As always, we start by adding a canvas to the widget. Now we will see a new component, the background blur, which will be used to blur the background of our scene, allowing us to highlight our menu. So let's search for background blur, insert it into the canvas and scale it. Currently the background blur is at Z order 0, so on level 0. We will then add a vertical box that will allow us to arrange our buttons more easily. Insert the vertical box into the canvas. We need to overlay the vertical box on the background blur, so we should give it a Z order of 1. Now, inside the vertical box, we insert our buttons and add text to them. We modify the text size, setting a value of 45. The button size will automatically be adjusted as well. We give our buttons a different shape by moving to this part, half height radius, obtaining more rounded corners, and changing the color, for example, to black in this way. Now, before modifying the text on the button, we also give it a button padding of 120, so that it automatically spaces out all subsequent buttons. Ctrl D, we duplicate 4 times. The first button will be the resume button, which will allow us to resume the game from where we paused it. Therefore, we rename our button F2 and rename it to resume. In the text, we insert the word resume. The second button will always be dedicated to settings. In the text, we simply write settings. The third button should allow us to return to the main menu, so we rename it main menu using F2. In the text, we will obviously write main menu. The fourth button will allow us to exit the game, so we rename it to exit. In the text, we will add the word exit. We also insert a descriptive text here. We place it inside our canvas at the top and simply write pause menu. We set the size to 70, size to content. At this point, we need to implement the functions that will allow us to pause the game and display our pause menu. In the background blur, we have the blur strength, which is currently set to 0. If we want this component to blur the background, we need to increase its strength value. So we set it to 25, which should be fine. Now the input that will allow us to pause the game can be inserted directly into the third-person character. In this case, we are in a third-person project that constantly features the character during gameplay. If your game has a different setup and does not always have a character present in the scene, you can also insert the input that pauses the game into the level blueprint. First, we choose the input that will pause the game, in this case the letter P. Pressing the P key will pause the game. From the input, we first set the game to pause by searching for set paused game. We check the box to set it to true. Once the game is paused, our pause menu should appear. Therefore, we search for Create Widget related to the pause menu and insert it here. We then add it to the viewport by using Add to Viewport. Next, we connect the return value to the target. Pressing the P key will display the pause menu. As you can see, the mouse cursor is not visible, so we need to make it visible. We search for Set Show Mouse Cursor, uncheck Context Sensitive and select it. We set it to true because we want the mouse cursor to be shown. Switching from game mode to user interface mode, we also need to change the input mode. Therefore, we search for input mode, set input mode UI only to allow us to modify the input system and use our user interface. Now, we need to insert the player controller, so we use get player controller and connect it to the set input mode. We compile, save and return to the game scene. We hit play and as we can see, the mouse cursor will be visible. Clicking the resume button will not restart the game yet because we have not implemented the function to resume the game. Therefore, we exit game mode, return to our pause menu, select the resume button, go to the details window, click on unclicked and implement the function to resume the game. We connect the unclicked event to the set paused game. We set it to false, so we don't check any boxes in this part. Then we need to remove our widget from the viewport. So we look for the node remove from parent. After that, we need to change the input mode again and hide the mouse cursor because we will return to game mode. Therefore, we look for set show mouse cursor again, and checking it to set it to false, again input mode game only, and we assign the player controller. So get player controller and connect it to both the set show mouse cursor and the set input mode. Compile, save. Return to the game scene, press play. Press the P key to pause the game, and this time clicking on resume, our game will restart from where we left off. Now let's continue Implementing the other functions, first let's add a comment. We now need to allow the pause menu to return to the main menu. So select the main menu button, go to the on-clicked event again, then create widget, insert our main menu, continue connecting our nodes by adding our widget to the viewport, and then add to viewport. In this case, it is not necessary to change the input mode because we are already in a UI mode. Add a comment, main menu, compile, save, return to the game scene, press play. Pause the game. This time we want to return to the main menu, and that's what happens. Now we just need to implement the exit button. In this case, we just need to connect the on-clicked event to the node, quit game. Add a comment, compile, save, start our game again, press P, click the exit button, and we will exit the game. So far, everything as expected. Now, let's add another widget, which will be a loading widget. So, when we click the play button from the main menu, instead of starting the game directly, we will first show this new widget indicating that the game is loading. So, content, let's create this new widget, user widget, and rename it to wgt_loading. Let's discover other components. The reason we are creating this widget is to familiarize ourselves with the UI components. As always, let's add a canvas here too. We can add a background image, so put it inside the canvas, scale the image and change the color. Z order equal 0, so the image is at level 0. Now let's add text, so text, insert it into the canvas and assign a value of 1 in the Z order so that it overlaps the image. Change the font size to 45, change the text to loading, check size to content. We see two new components, the circular thrower and the thrower. Let's find them and insert them into the canvas. We will see some of their characteristics and how to use them in more complex ways in future tutorials. In the circular thrower, we have this circular movement, while in the thrower, we have a horizontal movement. Let's focus on the first one. Here we have the number of pieces, so the higher the value, the more components there will be. Inside, we can modify the dimensions of both the X and Y axis to obtain different shapes. In the period, by increasing the value, we will slow down the movement speed of the components and vice versa. We can choose the color, for example, we can set it to green, and we can also change its shape by going to Draw As. We can use images that we can customize. Let's insert an image as an example. Similarly, the thrower also works with horizontal movement. As always, we have the number of pieces, the ability to change the dimensions on X and Y. We can change the color and also the type of animations. By removing the horizontal animation, we will get this type of result. By removing the vertical animation, we will get this other type of result. Here we can animate the opacity. If we uncheck it, we will not get the gradual disappearance effect of our images. As we can see, by inserting keyframes, it is also possible to animate these components in a more detailed way, which we will see later. In this case, we can also insert images that said let's keep only one, in this case the circular animation, z order equals 1. What we want to achieve by starting the game from the main menu and clicking the play button is to show the loading widget. So let's go back to the main menu widget, go to the graph. In play, we add the nodes to make all this possible. In this case, we need to create the loading widget. So create widget, add our loading widget, and then add it to the viewport. So add to viewport. We need to increase the delay value to allow us to see the loading widget. So let's set a delay of about 5 seconds. Compile, save, and return to the main menu level because we need to start the game from the main menu in this case. So, by going to play, we will get the loading screen before the game actually starts. In the next tutorials, we will also see how to implement and manage widgets through switchers and develop the settings part, such as how to change audio and video parameters, to customize the gaming experience and much more. We will continue to create other animations and so on. For now, that's all. Thank you for your attention. Subscribe to the channel. See you next time.